Shocking. No Alex Eala, no crowd. Toronto went completely silent after Alex Eala's exit, leaving Canadian Open feeling like a ghost town where more than 10,000 fans had once roared with excitement. The 21-year-old Filipino star had become the heartbeat of the tournament, and when her run came to an end, so did the incredible energy that had taken over Toronto. Nobody expected it to end this way. Just days earlier, the stadium had been transformed into Little Manila, with thousands of Filipino fans filling the stands, waving Philippine flags, chanting Eala's name, and creating an atmosphere that could be heard across York University's sprawling campus. But after Eala's 6-4, 6-0 defeat to Swiss veteran Belinda Bencic on August 9th, 2026, everything suddenly felt different. The loss lasted just 73 minutes, and the second set bagel was especially brutal, bringing Eala's magical National Bank Open run to an abrupt end. The sea of Philippine flags that had covered the railings and boxes disappeared. The deafening chants faded into silence, and the 10,000-plus fans who had packed the stadium for 3 consecutive nights were suddenly gone. Toronto had fallen silent. For tournament director Carl Hale, who had witnessed Elamania explode firsthand, the transformation was impossible to ignore. One young player from the Philippines had generated an atmosphere that made her feel like the entire tournament's main attraction, and once she left, the difference was unmistakable. The Canadian Open may still have plenty of elite tennis ahead, but the unique electricity Alex Eala brought to Toronto is gone, and everyone who witnessed it knows just how special it was. It was fun while it lasted. The National Bank Open's official X account posted after the match, Elamania came to an end on Sunday night in Toronto as the rising Filipino star exited the 2026 NBO, and the contrast was staggering. Just days earlier, the stadium had been packed to capacity, with tickets reportedly selling out in just 30 minutes and thousands of Filipino fans contacting tournament officials for months simply to find out when Alex Eala would play. The excitement had reached a level nobody could have predicted. One fan even arrived wearing an inflatable dinosaur costume, dancing during Eala's court introduction like a one-person celebration of pure joy. Tournament food vendors added Filipino adobo to the menu for the first time in the event's history, while families attended their first-ever professional tennis match simply because they wanted to see Eala in person. Inside Sobeys Stadium, the atmosphere was described by play-by-play commentator Mark Bashee as the kind of deafening noise normally associated with Grand Slam victory. And then, suddenly it was silent. Belinda Bencic, the 12th seed who had just ended Eala's career best 7-match winning streak, acknowledged the crowd after her victory, saying, "I know most of you guys were cheering for Alex, but I still have to say it was very nice to play in front of you all." Her words carried a genuine sense of gratitude toward the incredible atmosphere the fans had created. But that atmosphere was already disappearing. The supporters who had filled every seat were filing out. The Philippine flags that had transformed the stadium into a celebration of national pride were being folded away, and the roar that veteran journalist Dion Castile reportedly called the loudest I've ever heard had been replaced by empty seats and echoing footsteps. Can't believe in those 3 days in a row, you made the stadium sold out. Amazed, one fan commented on the tournament's social media post, but the amazement was now mixed with sadness. The show was over, and Toronto would never quite feel the same. The silence wasn't simply about the end of a tennis match. It was the unmistakable sound of an extraordinary wave of Elamania coming to an end. It was about the end of something far bigger, a movement, a celebration, and a once-in-a-generation moment that reminded everyone what tennis can become when an entire community embraces a hero. And now, that moment was gone. Let's look at the numbers that reveal the real story of what Toronto lost when Alex Eala walked off center court. Before Eala arrived, the National Bank Open was already a major success, with 9 of the world's top 10 singles players competing, strong attendance, and the tournament projected to generate nearly $60 million in GDP contribution for Ontario and Canada. But Eala didn't simply add to those numbers. She transformed them. According to tournament director Carl Hale, Eala's opening match alone generated more than 5,000 ticket sales, forcing organizers to move her from the 2,800-seat grandstand to the much larger center court. Then came Wednesday night, when the session at SoBi Stadium sold out in just 30 minutes, with all 10,777 seats disappearing almost instantly. Think about that for a moment. Serena Williams is reportedly the only other player believed to have produced a Wednesday night sellout in Toronto over the previous 2 decades. Serena Williams, the greatest tennis players of the modern era, and now a 21-year-old from the Philippines, had matched that extraordinary feat, but the numbers only tell part of the story. According to Hale, approximately 3,100 tickets were purchased almost immediately after Eala's Wednesday night match was announced. The phones were ringing nonstop. The ticket office was overwhelmed, and by the time the first ball was struck, every available seat had been claimed. A Tennis Canada spokesperson confirmed that those 3,100 tickets were sold specifically after Eala's match schedule was revealed. The demand was so extraordinary that tournament organizers essentially had no choice but to put her on center court. As Hale explained, the grandstand holds only 2,800 spectators, and Eala's popularity had already far exceeded that capacity. She wasn't simply filling seats. She was moving tickets at a speed rarely seen in Toronto tennis history, proving that the Eala effect was much bigger than anyone could have imagined. "We can't put her on there because she probably sold upwards of 5,000 tickets," Hale explained. And then came the food. For the first time in the tournament's history, organizers added Filipino adobo to the food court menu, a decision that perfectly captured just how deeply Alex Eala had changed the atmosphere around the National Bank Open. "It's the first time I've ever heard of a tournament, halfway through the tournament, add a food offering just because of a player," Hale said. But the adobo was more than just another meal. It became a symbol of Eala's impact, a recognition that she had fundamentally changed the identity of the tournament. The broader attendance numbers tell the same story. In 2025, the National Bank Open attracted 54,860 fans, the highest attendance among combined WTA and ATP 1000 level tournaments on the international circuit. The event was already a major financial and sporting success, but in 2026, with Elamania reaching full force, organizers appeared on track to challenge those attendance records. Then, on August 9th, 2026, everything suddenly changed. The contrast was impossible to miss. The Philippine flags disappeared from the stands, the lines of the Filipino adobo food stall vanished, and the 10,000-plus fans who had packed SoBi Stadium for 3 consecutive nights were gone. The numbers that had been climbing at an extraordinary pace suddenly fell back to earth. The numbers don't lie. Alex Eala wasn't simply another player in the draw. She had become one of the tournament's biggest attractions. And when her run ended, the crowds and energy she had created disappeared with her. To understand the silence that followed Eala's exit, you first have to understand what she meant to Toronto. She didn't just play tennis at the National Bank Open. She transformed the event into a cultural phenomenon. The numbers tell only part of the story. More than 270,000 Filipina and Filipino Canadians call the Greater Toronto Area home. And when Eala arrived in Toronto fresh off her historic title in Washington, they didn't simply show up, they showed out. They filled the stadium, waved their flags, brought their families, created unforgettable noise, and turned an ordinary tennis tournament into something that felt much bigger than sport. Tickets for Alex Eala's opening match sold out in just 30 minutes, filling a 10,000-plus seat stadium with Philippine flags, custom t-shirts, and fans who have been contacting tournament officials for months just to find out when she would play. We've never seen a player ranked outside the top 5 have this type of effect. Tournament director Carl Hale told CBC, "I think her fans were specifically waiting to see when she played." What makes that statement so revealing is what it doesn't say. Eala wasn't simply attracting tennis fans. She was bringing in people who had never attended a professional tennis match before. Families, children, and senior citizens all came together, creating the kind of diverse audience tennis has been trying to attract for decades. Abby Albino, co-founder of the Rise Tribe fan group, told CBC that the atmosphere inside the stadium felt like she was in Manila, while praising Eala as an iconic representation of the Filipino community. The noise was so extraordinary that play-by-play commentator Mark Pai described it on the WTA Tour World Television feed as the kind of noise that accompanies a Grand Slam win, despite it being only the second round in Toronto. He later celebrated Eala as the one and only, the extraordinary Alex Eala, saying she was doing things in tennis that seemed completely out of this world. And the impact wasn't limited to the stands. It spilled into every corner of the tournament. Organizers added Filipino adobo to the food court menu for the first time in the event's history, a move that perfectly reflected the cultural impact Eala was having on Toronto. It's the first time I've ever heard of a tournament halfway through the tournament add a food offering just because a player Hale told Tennis Channel. Eala had become more than a competitor on the court. She had become the reason an entire community felt represented, connected, and proudly visible at one of the biggest tennis events in the world. Super fans dressed as dinosaurs, young athletes from Nevada City lining up with Philippine flags and traditional gifts, and even a performing arts group filling an airport terminal with traditional music. All of it showed just how far the Alex Eala phenomenon had spread. By the time Eala returned home, Elamania had become something far bigger than tennis. She had become a movement, a symbol, and a bridge between a sport that has historically been dominated by Western powers and a nation of more than 100 million people hungry for representation on the global stage. Eala was even being compared to Manny Pacquiao, arguably the greatest Filipino athlete of all time, and the comparison reflected just how deeply she had connected with her country. When you have watch parties in arenas around your country for a fourth-round match, Andy Roddick said on his podcast, highlighting the extraordinary level of attention Eala had generated. So when Eala lost to Belinda Bencic on August 9th, 2026, Toronto didn't simply lose a tennis player. It lost its heartbeat. And here is the uncomfortable truth that the WTA and tournament organizers now have to confront. Alex Eala didn't just bring a crowd to Toronto. For those extraordinary nights, she was a crowd. When she left, the tournament was forced to confront the reality that one player had become bigger than the event itself. Tournament director Carl Hale had described Eala as an absolute blessing to the sport of tennis in our tournament. Words that now carried an entirely different weight. Because when a player creates that much energy, her departure can reveal just how dependent an event has become on her presence. The numbers tell the story. Before Eala's exit, Sobe Stadium had been transformed into Little Manila. More than 10,000 fans had packed center court for 3 consecutive nights. Philippine flags covered the railings, and the atmosphere felt less like a traditional tennis tournament and more like a national celebration. For a few unforgettable days, Toronto belonged to Alex Eala and the community that had rallied behind her. The chants of "Let's go, Alex" shook the stadium as fans arrived hours early, with families attending their first ever professional tennis match simply because they wanted to see Eala play. Even the food vendors joined the celebration, with one swapping its usual chicken teriyaki for a Filipino chicken adobo rice bowl in honor of the Filipina star. And then came the silence. The Bencic match became Eala's final act in Toronto, and by the time Belinda Bencic addressed the crowd after her victory, saying, "I know most of you guys were cheering for Alex, but I still have to say it was very nice of me playing in front of you all." The energy was already fading. The fans who had packed the stadium were filing out. Philippine flags were being folded and packed away, and the roar that had been described as the loudest I've ever heard was replaced by empty seats and echoing footsteps. But here's the part that truly exposes the uncomfortable reality of what happened in Toronto. 9 of the world's top 10 singles players were competing at the tournament. Yet it was a 21-year-old ranked around number 20 in the world who would become the biggest attraction. On the men's side in Montreal, the tournament had struggled to generate the same level of excitement without stars such as Carlos Alcaraz, Jannik Sinner, and Novak Djokovic, while the women's event in Toronto was thriving largely because of Eala's extraordinary connection with the crowd. It wasn't simply the ranking, the star power, or the names at the top of the draw. It was Eala herself. As analysts have noted, Eala is not only one of the rising stars of tennis. She brings a remarkable number of fans to tournaments that other players simply don't. Wherever she goes, the crowds follow. But then came an unexpected twist. The player who finally silenced the Toronto crowd, Swiss veteran Belinda Bencic, has historically had a very different relationship with noise. She generally prefers quieter, calmer playing conditions, and has previously shown frustration when crowds become excessively loud or opponent supporters become too animated during tense moments. In Toronto, however, she walked into one of the loudest atmospheres of the tournament and ultimately became a player who brought Elamania to an end. During her mid-match battle with Coco Gauff at the 2025 China Open, Bencic had visibly grown frustrated by the noise and premature cheering coming from American players' box before her serve. At one point, she snapped at the supporters to quiet down and later raised the issue with the chair umpire.